At first glance, Vegas Matt might look like your average retired millionaire. But step inside his world, and everything changes. From gambling $1 million to celebrate 1 million YouTube subs, to owning a mansion in Vegas and all-access VIP status at nearly every casino in town.
To the point where, there are properties that'll, send a jet to pick us up to bring us into their
Wow.
casino.
This man turned his high-stakes addiction into a digital empire. But how? How does a man in his 60s gamble more in a night than most people earn in a decade? And how did he go from being an MLM top earner to a notorious world-class gambler? Let's find out. Las Vegas was built on risk, but almost nobody lives it, breathes it, and films it quite like Stephen Matt Morrow, aka Vegas Matt. He's not a billionaire, not a celebrity, but walk into any Vegas casino with him and you'll swear royalty just showed up. Why? Because the man gambles more in a week than most people make in a year. And when you're throwing down a few money daily, people pay attention. This dude is unhinged, in the best way possible. You might know him as the guy who built the world's most viewed gambling channel, smashing slots all over Vegas. When he's not chilling in his $3 million Vegas home, he's cooling off in one of his properties in Costa Rica. But what you don't see is how calculated his gambling really is. The same guy who flies private, drops $100,000 in a night, and takes his pregnant daughter to a casino, just because, has figured out how to turn losing into profit. And it's genius. Before we break down how a Tony Robbins protege became one of the most notoriously profitable gamblers on the internet, and how even his losses are rigged in his favor, let's reintroduce the man behind the madness, Vegas Matt. Long before the casinos, the chips, and the million-dollar bets, Matt's story started somewhere quieter. Born October 4th, 1963, in the affluent suburb of Orinda, California, Matt grew up in an upper-middle-class household. Dad was successful, money was fine, but the house ran on discipline. You didn't get an allowance, you earned it. Matt's first hustle? A paper route. He was barely a teenager, biking down a brutal hill at sunrise to drop newspapers on doorsteps. His first paycheck? Just $7. But to Matt, it wasn't about the money. It was the grind. The seed was planted early. Work hard, do your own thing. But if his parents were expecting a little model citizen, they were in for a shock. Matt wasn't just the black sheep. He was the whole damn herd. His parents were strict, hovering, and all about rules. So naturally, Matt did the exact opposite. The second they went out of town, instant house party. And we're not talking about a few friends and some soda. We're talking full-blown chaos. Pool, hot tub, passed-out kids on the lawn, cops at the door. Matt was the opposite of his parents. The more his mom tried to lock him down, the more he pushed boundaries. Little did his parents know, their slightly stubborn son was about to find his thrills in the most unlikely place, the poker table. Matt's first gamble didn't happen under the bright lights of the Strip. It happened in a quiet neighborhood game. He was just a dorky 12-year-old junior high kid trying to hang with the cool crowd. So when the older boys invited him to play, he didn't hesitate. He raided his parents' change jar, scraped together $3, and pulled up a chair. Spoiler alert, they cleaned him out. But that $3 loss? It hit harder than expected. Not because of the money. The agony of defeat that made him hunger for the thrill of a win. By college, things escalated fast. We're talking fake IDs, late-night road trips, and weekends spent under the neon signs of old-school Vegas. The Stardust, the Aladdin, places that don't even exist anymore. Vegas back then wasn't corporate. It was grimy, electric, real. And for Matt, it was heaven. He'd toss a crumpled $20 bill on red, whisper a prayer to the roulette gods, and let the wheel decide his fate. Win or lose didn't matter. The thrill was the prize. In the eyes of Matt's parents, the proper path for their son was clear. College degree, stable job, climb the corporate ladder. And for a brief moment, Matt tried to play by the rules. He earned a degree in business economics and landed his first job in the late 80s as a management trainee at a small bank. But for Matt, it was nothing short of a prison sentence.
A very short period of time, because I felt like a caged animal. Like it was just not my my natural state of being to be in a 9 to 5.
And after just 18 months, he snapped. He quit. No backup, no safety net. This was Matt's first big all-in move in life. To his parents, quitting a stable job after a year and a half looked reckless, maybe even insane. But to Matt, it was the only bet that made sense, because the safe life felt like death. And even if chasing money his own way meant risk, chaos, and maybe even failure, he'd take that over a pension plan any day. This was a gamble on himself, the biggest one yet. In the late 80s, Matt was untouchable. Fresh out of the corporate grind, he dove headfirst into entrepreneurship, and everything he touched turned to gold. He had the charm, the drive, and most importantly, the checks to prove it. Before 30, he was pocketing $30,000 a month. That's right. While most people his age were still figuring out their 401k, Matt was moving around in a brand new BMW 733i with a $1,500 a month car phone bill. Matt wasn't just making money, he was living money. Designer suits, check house parties, bigger than ever. He picked up every dinner tab like he was allergic to letting someone else pay. Life was a montage of flashy wins and ego boosts. But here's the problem with riding high. Eventually, gravity hits. See, Matt's spending wasn't just aggressive, it was reckless. He wasn't just living like the good times would last, he was betting on it. No safety net, no backup plan, just vibes and expensive taste. And then, in 1991, the vibes ran out. A single bad business partner tanked everything. Overnight, his income nosedived from $30,000 a month to nothing. Zero.
Just all of a sudden, my income went from like $30,000 a month to zero.
The man who once blew through cash like it was monopoly money was now ducking creditor calls with a newborn at home and a mountain of bills. For the first time in his life, Matt had to do the unthinkable: call his parents for help. To him, that was rock bottom. Fortunately, his parents had his back. They wired him the cash, and probably a lecture too. For a while, it got dark. Like, really dark. Matt had hit rock bottom, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. But instead of facing the wreckage, he did what addicts do. He gambled. Didn't matter if the bank account was low or if his kid was around. He was placing bets. He actually brought his wife and infant kid along on Vegas trips. While his toddler splashed in the kiddie pool in diapers, Matt would sneak off to the casino floor, placing bets at the roulette wheel. But it shows how deep the gambling itch ran in Matt's veins. But even deeper was the depression. This devastating collapse would turn out to be the wake-up call he needed, and the setup for an epic comeback. Rock bottom has a way of forcing people to reinvent themselves, and Matt was no exception. Out of options and sick of the spiral, Matt latched onto something, anything, that might get him out. And that something was Tony Robbins. Matt had always been a fan, but now he was treating Tony's motivational tapes like gospel. So he did what only a true degenerate gambler turned self-help junkie would do. He bet on himself. Big time. He packed up his life and moved to Oregon, just to work for a Tony Robbins franchise. No backup plan, just raw desperation and a sliver of hope. And surrounded by goal-setting seminars and high-energy workshops, Matt got his headspace back in order.
Write this down, please. The quality of my life is the quality of my habitual emotions. The quality of my entire life is nothing but the quality of my habitual emotions.
Oregon proved the perfect training ground for Matt's comeback. He learned to channel his relentless work ethic, the same 18-hour days he once spent building his own business, into a new field. Starting as a sales rep for motivational programs, Matt quickly found his groove. Sure enough, after a year or two of honing his mindset and skills with Tony Robbins' team, Matt ventured out again, this time as a producer of marketing videos for the personal development industry. He had become a vendor and entrepreneur once more, but now older and wiser. And guess what? It paid off. The early to mid-1990s saw Matt rise from the ashes. He attacked new business opportunities with the same intensity he once applied to gambling, and it worked. Before long, the bank account was healthy, the debts were gone, and Matt was climbing back toward millionaire status. He also began making smarter financial decisions. One key lesson stuck with him. He knew he had to protect himself from himself. Matt realized if he kept Matt Rise lying around, he'd find a way to spend it on something wild. So he turned to real estate as a form of forced discipline.
The best investments I ever made were real estate because it hides the money from me. I have this habit of if like I have money in the bank, like I find a way to spend it, you know, and with real estate, you buy it and you hold it and it generates cash flow and then it appreciates.
Throughout the late 90s and 2000s, Matt poured his earnings into properties, from homes in Las Vegas to vacation rentals abroad. In fact, Matt got in on Airbnb early. Seeing an opportunity, he snapped up a lake house in Lake Havasu and later a place in Costa Rica, figuring he could rent them out short-term for cash flow and still use them for family vacations. It wasn't a conventional investment strategy, but it fit Matt's philosophy perfectly. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Owning houses in fun locations that doubled as income streams, that was classic Matt, mixing business with pleasure. And it worked. Those properties appreciated massively. His Vegas home, bought for $800,000 in 2012, nearly quadrupled in value at its peak and generated steady income along the way. And here's a twist. After his father's death, Matt learned that the old man had quietly dabbled in gambling too. Maybe it was a few secret trips to the racetrack, or private poker nights with friends. Whatever it was, Matt realized the apple hadn't fallen quite as far from the tree as he thought. All those years, father and son had been more alike than either of them knew. Armed with this insight, and a few extra millions in the bank, Matt felt more than ever that gambling was in his blood. And here's a twist. So what did he do? He raised the stakes, of course. Why live on a modest $10,000 a month budget when you could chase something bigger? Matt wasn't about to spend his 50s quietly golfing and clipping coupons. He had one more reinvention up his sleeve, and it would combine all the passions of his life into one unbelievable venture, becoming a gambling influencer. But before we go any further, there's one gambling episode Matt rarely brings up, because honestly, it still stings. He'd do anything to forget it. So back in his 20s, he let his ego and too many drinks get the best of him, thanks in large part to one legendary casino host who made sure that night was pure destruction. The host's name? Steve Sear, a Vegas insider, a high roller whisperer, and back then, a man with the most dangerous weapon in Sin City, a signature. Matt was 27 and broke, barely keeping things together. Then Sear, probably thinking he was doing him a favor, hands him an $11,000 credit line at the Las Vegas Hilton. What followed? Pure chaos. Matt got drunk. Then he gambled. Then he got drunk again. As you would expect, he was betting the whole time and, of course, losing. And right in the middle of it, Sear quietly bumped the credit line another 10% while Matt was still mid-bender. When Matt finally came to, he wasn't just nursing a hangover. He owed the casino $111,000. That was insane for a broke dude. And that was his rock-bottom gambling moment. He didn't go bankrupt. He didn't spiral. But it hurt. So how did he become a YouTube star? Let's just say, it started in the most unexpected way possible. The birth of the Vegas Matt empire didn't start with a business plan. It started with dinner. It was 2021, and EJ Morrow, Matt's son and a low-key entrepreneur in his own right, was out grabbing a bite with his dad and a few friends. Matt, as usual, was parked at a video poker machine before the appetizers even hit the table. Then it happened. $78,000. A royal flush. And EJ had his phone rolling. They posted the clip on TikTok, just for laughs. But by the time dessert came, the video had racked up 880,000 views. Most people would have celebrated the win and moved on. Not EJ. He saw something different. A blueprint. A chance to turn a lucky hand into a lasting brand. So he kept filming and posting. One video became 5, then 10. Views grew, so did the bets. Father and son leaned in, and suddenly the casual casino runs became content strategy. Matt took the same laser-focused intensity he once used to build businesses and funneled it straight into content creation. We're talking 18-hour days, every day, grinding out videos, planning uploads, editing, filming, uploading again. The concept? Simple, but addictive. Show the real life of a high-stakes gambler. Stay authentic. And it worked. Like, really worked. First, it was a few thousand views. Then tens of thousands. Then, 1 million subscribers. Just like that, people were hooked, tuning in to watch this silver-haired risk-taker and his crew walk into casinos and dare the odds to take them down. It wasn't just gambling, it was a show, a lifestyle, and Matt was the star. But here's what most people miss. Yes, Matt shows the losses. He keeps it real. That's part of the brand. But what the audience doesn't realize is he's playing a whole different game. One you can't easily copy. First of all, the man lives for this. He's not pretending to like gambling. He's obsessed. He once brought his pregnant daughter, his wife, and his son to the casino on Thanksgiving, just to get some spins in. Didn't even film it for YouTube. Just straight up lost all day, then hit a $5,400 jackpot and called it a win. That's not strategy. That's passion-fueled madness. But more importantly, Vegas Matt doesn't lose. Not because he always beats the house. He doesn't. But because the house isn't his only source of income anymore. He's got YouTube revenue, merch drops, sponsorship deals, and casinos literally paying him to show up. So yeah, if he drops $10,000 on a session, it's cool. He's making that back on the back end. And then some. So if you're thinking of copying his blueprint, don't. Unless you've got an audience, a brand, and a business model that prints money even when the slots don't, you're not playing the same game. These days, you'll still catch Matt on the casino floor, camera crew in tow, narrating every pull of the slot with that same infectious energy. He's still taking risks, still chasing jackpots, still living like the odds are in his favor. And if you ask him, why risk it when the house always wins? He'll just smile and say it's about optimism. But let's keep it real. Even Matt admits, if you're losing too much, playing with money you can't afford to lose, that's when it's time to walk away. Yes, he gambled his way into luxury cars, viral fame, and a lifestyle built on high-stakes chaos. But for anyone watching, dreaming of doing the same, this isn't a how-to guide. It's wise to stay away. Before you go, this script took a week to research, rewrite, and fact-check. You know the deal. Hit the button. We both earned it. See you in the next video.